Catherine is a game I didn't know I needed to play. Heading into 2024, I was searching for something different to shake up my gaming routine. After months of button mashing through action-heavy titles like Spider-Man, Batman, and a few LEGO games, I was ready for a change. Typically, when I find myself stuck in this loop, I turn to a shooter. It's rare for me to venture outside of my comfort genres, but that's when I stumbled upon Catherine Full Body. Not only did this game share the name of my high school crush, but it also became one of the most unexpectedly captivating experiences I've had in a long time. Back when I started making Platinum Trophy videos, I bought a ton of games that were on sale, and this happened to be one of them. At the time, I knew next to nothing about Catherine. I tried it briefly on Steam a few years ago, but it didn't leave a lasting impression at the time. Fast forward to this year, and I thought I'd make the perfect Valentine's Day video, though I wildly underestimated just how challenging this platinum would be to earn. While I'm pretty sure the difficulty rating and estimated playtime were even higher back when I began, Catherine Full Body currently sits at a 7 out of 10 difficulty, requiring 6 separate playthroughs and around 75 hours to complete. I didn't dig too deep into why it was considered so tough. I just dove in headfirst, eager to start my journey. Confidence can be a dangerous thing though. I was convinced I'd knock this out before February rolled around, but boy was I mistaken. Like the guide and community warned, this will be one of the most grueling platinums I'd ever attempted. A long, tedious, but ultimately rewarding challenge lies ahead. But first, as always, we start with the story. Catherine Full Body throws us into the action right away, with a young woman fleeing through a dark alley. She bumps into our protagonist, Vincent Brooks, and yeah, it's clear this is going to be an interesting game. After a stylish intro sequence, Vincent is dragged into one of his recurring nightmares. The first nightmare, Underground Cemetery, gave me my first taste of the gameplay. Despite playing this game before, I definitely needed a refresher because, as you'll see, I was struggling.
Edge.
The main challenge in this stage is climbing fast enough to stay ahead of the collapsing tower. A couple of disembodied voices explain the fundamentals, and it didn't take long for me to make my first mistake. Luckily, a tap of L1 let me undo it, earning my first trophy for Catherine Full Body.
Undo. Undo.
After some trial and error, the sound of a bell signaled that I was nearing the finish line. Reaching the top, I cleared the first stage.
I can get out through here.
Kicking off Vincent's chaotic journey. The next day gave us a glimpse into Vincent's personal life, his home, occupation, and most importantly, Vincent's relationship with his girlfriend, Catherine with a K. From their first conversation, it was clear their relationship was rocky. Catherine wants to settle down and start a family, but Vincent isn't ready for that commitment. Later, the news covered the mysterious death of a young man, which smoothly transitioned into a night at the Stray Sheep, the bar where we'll spend much of the game. We meet Vincent's friends, Toby, Johnny, and Orlando, along with the bar staff, Rin, Erica, and the boss, along with some regulars. Between drinking, chatting about life, responding to text messages, and even playing an arcade game, the bar offered a much needed breather from the intensity of the nightmares. As the night wound down and everyone else left, I stuck around to reply to a text from Catherine. This introduced the game's karma system, a crucial mechanic that will be incredibly important throughout my time with Catherine. For this first playthrough, I made choices that pushed my karma meter toward the blue. Karma is going to play a huge role in the various endings Catherine has in store, but we'll get to those in due time. Continuing the story, Vincent, deep in thought, is approached by a mysterious stranger at the bar. Their identity remained unknown for now, but it was time for another nightmare. The Prison of Despair presented the game's first real hazard, cracked blocks. These blocks break after being stepped on twice, forcing me to be strategic with my movements. This stage upped the challenge, and I soon experienced my first death.
May you rest in peace.
But I quickly jumped back in.
If you use retry assist,
Armed with a better understanding of the mechanics, I climbed faster, reaching a landing where I encountered sheep, who were also trapped in this nightmare loop. They revealed that the only way out was to climb or die. The landing allowed me to save in between runs, learn climbing techniques, and talk to the sheep, possibly helping them out with any issues in the real world. Before moving on, I stepped into a confessional where I was asked a relationship-related question. These questions are pivotal for greatly shifting my karma meter toward the side of order, blue, or the side of freedom, red. The next floor introduced items like a 3x3 platform that proved invaluable during tricky situations. I gave it a shot.
Use this.
Undo.
And soon faced my first boss, the Fist of Grudge. Climbing quickly to avoid her attacks, I reached the top and survived another night. We transitioned into a flashback of Vincent and Catherine during happier times. I won't lie, I caught myself blushing during this cutscene. However, that feeling soon turned to shock when Vincent woke up to find another naked woman in his bed. Oh, Vincent, what have you gotten yourself into, man? At the bar, Vincent confided in his friends, revealing the mess he found himself in.
You're cheating. Weren't you talking about marriage?
Why don't you say it louder? Seriously, stop yelling about cheating and shit. I think someone on Mars didn't quite hear you.
Seeking some clarity, I decided to check in on Ren, who was settling into her new life. I also used the jukebox to brighten the bar's atmosphere. After chatting with the boys, I headed home, where the next nightmare awaited. This time, I faced the torture chamber, complete with a deadly new hazard, trap blocks that would instantly kill me if I stopped on them. However, something or someone was helping me.
Calm down.
I won't let you die.
Now's my chance.
Ren had somehow entered my nightmare, playing a melody on a piano that gave me a lifeline when I ran out of space. I continued climbing but had a bro moment when I tried to move an immovable block.
Budge.
As the stage was coming to an end, I braced myself for a truly horrifying abomination. With quick thinking and faster climbing, I avoided the boss's attacks and escaped. As the night ended, we saw another flashback of how Vincent and Catherine first met before he woke up next to the woman again. Conveniently, she had the same name as our girlfriend, Catherine, but with a C. Now, before we move on, it would be quite redundant if I kept referring to them as Catherine with a K and Catherine with a C, so I'll be referring to the two love interests by their initials moving forward, K Catherine and C Catherine, for the sake of simplicity. Back to the story. We meet K Catherine for lunch at Chrono Rabbit, where she drops a major bombshell.
I think I'm pregnant.
Vincent, my guy, you're cooked. However, with my karma meter leaning toward order, Vincent managed to navigate the situation without raising suspicion. That is until C Catherine showed up at the restaurant, forcing him to cut the date short. Later, at the apartment, Ren's door was wide open, and Vincent took the opportunity to get to know her better. During their conversation, we learned her real name, Catherine, with a Q. Yeah, it's a stretch, but at this point, the game was already getting kinda weird. At the bar, the conversation was getting heavy, so I stepped into the bathroom to wash up.
That's odd.
I look forward to seeing you.
After chatting with a few patrons, I decided I wasn't ready to leave just yet. With the baby on the way and the weight of marriage hanging over Vincent, these felt like his last few days of freedom. Might as well enjoy them.
Stick around.
I enjoyed the rest of my rum and cola when I was treated to some trivia about the beverage.
I know this is sudden, but here is some trivia for you, as you seem to have finished your glass.
While I'm not a drinker, I did find the narrator's voice and the fun facts surprisingly enjoyable. Afterwards, I ordered another drink.
Give me a rum and cola. Sake, please.
I'll take a beer.
Beer.
It wasn't long before the boys left when C. Catherine found me. Things take a kinky turn.
Is your tummy grumbling? You want mommy's milk, don't you?
I had to get out of there and think about everything. Tonight's nightmare, the Inquisition, wasn't too bad. It was a shorter stage, and all the techniques I learned so far helped me clear another night. Although the baby boss fight was a bit creepy. I woke up to see Catherine in my bed again, and the morning seemed pretty chill, until we found K Catherine on the other side of the door. By some miracle, Vincent managed to weasel his way out of this one. K Catherine even left us with a cake before following up on that bombshell from before.
Owen, I am pregnant.
Vincent, I have no idea how you're going to recover from this. The chaos made for an interesting conversation at the bar. It was a short night when I headed back home where tonight's challenge, the quadrangle, was waiting for me. This stage introduced ice blocks, and running across these sends you sliding until you hit a normal block or the edge, resulting in a quick death. I got the hang of it on the first floor, but the next one, I'll just let this clip do the talking. Yeah, not my finest moment. I learned quickly though, because this stage doesn't mess around. At least the boss wasn't too bad, though seeing an angry woman in a wedding dress is never comforting. The next morning, C. Catherine wasn't in bed, but I woke up to a phone call about her. Turns out...
This is Steve? Catherine's boyfriend?
What? Are you serious?
You
This man could not catch a break. Meeting up with C. Catherine, she had no idea what I was talking about, leaving Vincent to suspect that K. Catherine might be cheating on him. Later that night, I tried to process everything, but Rin was stealing the spotlight this evening. I kept things light, chatting with locals, and checking my email. Oh, probably shouldn't show that. You know what, let's just head home. The clock tower was next, where bomb blocks awaited. These can destroy the tower's structure if stepped on, so I had to be careful, either navigating around them or pushing them off entirely. The floors on the stage became increasingly difficult, combining multiple hazards along with tricky layouts. After a couple of hours, I finally reached the boss, a chainsaw-wielding baby. Not something you see every day, but I managed to survive another gruesome night.
I made it!
Ants greeted us the following morning as they swarmed the cake K. Catherine left. It was a weird start to the day, but lunch with her wasn't much better. When I confronted her about this mysterious cheater, she was just as confused as I was. With this mystery unsolved, I headed back to my apartment when I noticed smoke coming from Rin's place. Rushing in to check on her, Vincent uncovered possibly the biggest revelation in the entire game. I did not see that coming at all. This revelation shook Vincent as he lashed out at Rin when they tried to touch him. Feeling guilty, he later made things right, but sadly, this marked their exit from this playthrough. It was a shame to lose them, but I pressed on to the next challenge, the Spiral Corridor. This is one of the longest stages in the game, but surprisingly, I didn't find it as difficult as the Clock Tower. Maybe everything started to click, or I was starting to get better at the game. All the techniques I learned were paying off. Well, except when I encountered the shortest floor in the game, and got tripped up by a fairly difficult boss floor that introduced black hole blocks, sucking in anything above them. Despite this, the stage wasn't too bad. At the end, I encountered a sheep with a familiar voice, Steve, the guy who had called me a couple days ago. I tried to save him, but he was killed before I could do anything. The following day, the nightmare started affecting my friends. Orlando looked exhausted and Johnny was MIA. Things got even more awkward when I confessed my true feelings about K. Catherine to C. Catherine.
What the hell does that mean? You are really pissing me off!
She didn't take it well. Calling it a night, I was surprised to go an entire evening without a nightmare. At least I thought. K. Catherine was waiting outside my room, so I let her in when C. Catherine popped up from behind. What followed was pure chaos. Tensions escalated quickly as C. Catherine made some seriously out-of-pocket remarks, riling up K. Catherine with every single word. This blows up into a full-blown fight between the two when things take a drastic turn.
Don't you run away from me!
Catherine, look at me.
This obviously shakes up K. Catherine, but it's quickly revealed to be one of Vincent's nightmares. This time, Vincent had to guide both himself and K. Catherine through the stage. This was interesting, as I had to plan every move carefully to clear a path for us both. Escaping a demonic C. Catherine, Vincent confesses his true love, ending the shortest stage in the game with my first gold prize. Vincent woke up relieved to find K. Catherine, who was obviously confused. But that relief was short-lived.
Listen, it turns out I wasn't pregnant. It was all a mistake.
And things only got worse.
Yes.
I mean, are you sure?
So let's break up.
Break up?
Even leaning toward the side of order wasn't enough to salvage things. K. Catherine had made up her mind. This leaves Vincent in a tough spot for a few days. After some time and a friendly conversation between two bros on the toilet, Vincent discovers all of C. Catherine's information had completely vanished. None of my friends at the bar even saw her. Something wasn't right. Desperate for answers, he drowns his sorrows with some rum and cola when he suspects that the boss might have seen C. Catherine. Vincent confronted the boss, who spilled everything. C. Catherine wasn't even from this realm. Oh, and the boss? He's not exactly normal either. I'll let him explain.
I have these hesitant gentlemen climb that.
Wait, you're talking about the nightmare? Oh, you're the one behind that?
You won't see that young girl ever again. Huh? She is a succubus. She appears at will and seduces men under the curse by appearing as their ideal woman.
This revelation flipped the game on its head. Vincent was now playing for his life. I grabbed a few drinks, and before diving back into the nightmares, I resolved some issues for our patron, Daniel, helping him with some relationship troubles throughout the game.
Thank you, Vincent.
There are more guys to help out, but I'll save that for future playthroughs. For now, one final nightmare awaited. The Imperial pulled no punches. Cracked, mystery, trap, and monster blocks, combined with relentless ghosts and intricate layouts, demanded my full attention. In between that, the confessionals during this stage were crucial as they determined which of the many endings I would get. After battling through 4 grueling floors, I faced the final boss, Thomas Mutton. He had 2 floors I had to get through, and despite the RNG chaos, I was confident in my skills, and with a banging song getting me through, I climbed my way to victory. Vincent woke up truly happy for the first time in ages. At the Stray Sheep, he poured his heart out to Kay Catherine, hoping she'd listen. With some help from Johnny and Orlando, things worked out. Flash forward some time, and the two were getting married. Everything came full circle in one of Catherine's many endings.
I love you so much, Vincent.
And I love you, Catherine.
But this is just the beginning of the journey. After around 12 hours and unlocking 16 trophies, this wrapped up my first playthrough of Catherine Full Body. Before moving on to the next stage of this platinum journey, I wanted to unlock as many of the good endings as possible during this run. There were 2 approaches I could take: replaying the story multiple times with each ending in mind, or using some save scumming to streamline the process. Hey guys, future me here. I kinda wanted to clarify what I just said. Save scumming isn't really the right term I should have used. See, the way Catherine's save system works is that whenever you finish the game, you can start from any save file you want with the added benefit of skipping stages you already completed. This is actually a really smart system to save time if you're just trying to complete certain things like I did with the endings. Just wanted to add a bit more context to that. Opting for the latter approach, I started on the 9th night and skipped the puzzles I had already completed. My main focus was solely on answering the confessional questions in a way that unlocked different endings. I was following some charts on PSN profiles that were a bit confusing at first, but I eventually figured things out. Following this path led me to my second ending, where Kay Catherine and Vincent prepare for their wedding. For my third ending, Vincent and C. Catherine confess their love for each other and travel back in time to meet in high school, altering events and eventually marrying each other. The fourth ending saw Vincent choosing to stay single, betting his life on a wrestling match, and winning. For the final ending of this playthrough, I returned to day 5, ignoring all of C. Catherine's text messages. Progressing normally through the rest of the story resulted in Vincent being dumped by C. Catherine. With that, I completed all the good endings for Catherine Full Body. Before moving on, I wanted to tackle a few miscellaneous trophies I'd missed during the story. First, I listened to all the narrator's musings by pressing L2 in the start menu.
Time may be limited, but doing nothing can be a step forward in itself. Signed, your venerable narrator.
Next, I purchased an item for the first time.
Give me this one.
A smart choice.
Cleared a floor without crossing a checkpoint. And moved a heavy block 10 times in a row.
They wish to undo and try a new strategy.
By the end of this playthrough, I had racked up 24 trophies in about 14 hours, marking the second stage of this platinum journey. Next up was Babel, a mode that would make or break the plotting for many. This mode features 4 extra stages that can be tackled solo or in co-op, but it's a massive step up in difficulty from the Golden Playhouse stages. For starters, you only get 1 shot at each attempt. There's no undo button, so every move must count. On top of that, the layouts are randomly generated, meaning no 2 runs are the same. While the block patterns remain consistent, making this mode all about recognizing them and planning accordingly, Babel is the ultimate test of both skill and knowledge. Trisha sums it up best.
I'll level with you. It's incredibly challenging. If you take this on, you'd better be ready for it.
Despite the grueling challenge that Babel presents, there were a few aspects of this mode that I genuinely enjoyed and want to highlight. First, you can choose from a variety of characters to tackle Babel with. The roster includes not just Vincent, but also Catherine with a K, Catherine with a C, Ren, all of Vincent's friends from the bar, and even Joker from Persona 5, who comes as part of a DLC pack. Next is the music, which deserves special recognition. While Catherine's soundtrack is phenomenal across the board, the tracks tied to Babel are some of the best I've ever heard in a video game. Even during my umpteenth attempt of Alter or Menhir, the groovy beats kept me energized and motivated. Menhir's track, Up Up Up, stood out in particular. It's the kind of music that gives you the same vibe as walking into an arcade as a kid, a nostalgic sense of wonder amidst the chaos.
New record, new record, new record, new record.
Oh yeah, hearing new record every time you climb a step can get annoying at times, but it's something I oddly enjoyed. It just scratched a certain part of my brain. Getting into Babel itself, the first stage, Alter, was intimidating in the beginning, but manageable in hindsight. It doesn't have a unique gimmick like the later stages. It instead served as a soft introduction to the challenges this mode presents, and the only thing I really had to look out for were cracked blocks. Watching some of my early attempts now, I can't help but wonder what I was thinking. There are just so many ways I could have tackled this one section. I gave this stage, along with the others, a fair shake solo. With Alter, I was getting around 50 steps on average, with my highest score being 106. After some time, I eventually used my second controller to play in pairs mode. This approach has 2 key benefits. The patterns are simpler, and the towers are shorter. I was doing this all alone, so controlling 2 characters was awkward at first, and led to several fails because I couldn't keep up, but after a few attempts, it started to feel natural. When I began Alter in pairs, I immediately noticed the differences. The shorter tower, and a simpler layout. Again, adjusting to co-op took some time, as I had to ensure both characters had clear paths without blocking one another. After several retries and plenty of trial and error, I finally conquered Alter.
They didn't. They just beat the Alter. Wow, wasn't that thrilling?
It was a solid start, but only the beginning. Menhir was the stage that almost broke me. It's similar to Alter, but much more narrow. Only 4 to 5 blocks wide most of the time. There is a safe spot usually on level 4 or 5 where the tower widens, but it doesn't last long. It was always in my best interest to widen the tower as much as I can to give myself more real estate to work with. The other thing I had to keep in mind was when to push and pull parts of the tower to make it easier to climb. Sometimes it was beneficial, sometimes it wasn't. Out of all the stages in the game, this one really tested me. It hit me that I wasn't as good at the game as I thought I was. I wasn't taking the time to think about my next moves, and I just kept moving. Looking back on my early attempts, I can see so many ways I could have improved, but in the moment, nothing clicked. Damn it! Bro, are you freaking serious right now? Bro, Menhir can kiss my freaking ass, man.
New record, new record.
Motherfucker! I can't keep doing this. I scoured Reddit for tips, studied patterns, and watched countless videos, but nothing worked. I was stuck for nearly a week when I had to step away from the game. After a couple of weeks, I returned and approached Menhir with a clear head. It was still kicking my ass, but I didn't give up. Using the techniques I'd learned so far and taking plenty of screenshots to plan my moves, I began making steady progress. Then, one Saturday, everything fell into place. I was on a roll, and before I knew it, I had conquered Menhir.
New record. New record.
Here I go.
All right. Sounds about
Way to go. The menhir is but a mere footstool for our challengers.
This victory reignited my determination, but I didn't rush into the next stage. Instead, I took a few days to prepare myself for the challenge of Obelisk. Obelisk presented a stark difference between solo and pairs. In solo, it's significantly longer and introduces bomb and mystery blocks, ready to ruin your climb if triggered. In pairs, the stage is simplified to just dealing with ice blocks, but even that's a challenge in itself, ending a run if you're not paying attention. Many players regard Obelisk as the hardest of the 4 Babel stages, but I didn't find it too terrible. The beginning tripped me up a few times, but I eventually adapted to the ice blocks. Around 80 steps, the tower splits into 2, which could also end your run depending on how you go about it. My initial attempts failed because I stuck to one tower, only to run out of blocks. After studying some videos, I learned to create bridges between the 2 towers whenever possible. This strategy ultimately helped me conquer Obelisk after several attempts.
New record. New record.
Let's go.
Unbelievable. They just finished the obelisk.
all I can say is wowza.
The final challenge, Axis Mundi, is widely considered to be the hardest stage in Catherine Full Body, and with good reason. While it lacks the gimmicks of Obelisk, its structure mirrors Menhir, the stage that had previously tested me. The main threats here are black hole blocks, which can either suck in other blocks or trigger an instant game over if stepped on. Additionally, many areas have limited space to work with, forcing me to adapt quickly. One of the most frustrating elements was these walls with gaping holes. Constructing a stable floor was tricky as cracked blocks, lack of space for stairs, or missteps often derailed my progress. However, I felt confident after clearing Obelisk, so I approached Axis Mundi with optimism. On my first attempt, I even reached 100 steps until I eventually screwed myself over. Subsequent attempts saw me consistently reaching 80 to 90 steps before hitting a wall, often with no viable moves. I got incredibly close to the end one run, which was defeating and haunted me the rest of the night.
Oh, I was so close!
The next morning, determined to finish, I committed to not leaving my room until Axis Mundi was behind me. Fueled by a new level of focus, I analyzed every move, took countless screenshots, and planned each step. Hours later, after surpassing my previous record and crafting a final set of stairs, I made the last push and conquered Axis Mundi.
New record. New record.
Here I go.
Right?
Finally, we have a pair of universe-beating climbers.
You're amazing. Damn, that was some fancy footwork.
Weeks of grinding through Babel finally paid off, and I had overcome the game's most brutal challenge, and the platinum was now in sight. With Babel complete, the next thing to work on was the Super Rapunzel arcade game in the bar. This mode, an extension of the main gameplay loop, features 64 stages of increasingly complex puzzles, hazards, and block layouts. It also comes with 3 trophies. I started Super Rapunzel while working through Babel, but it became tedious after a while. The repetition of moving blocks started to wear me down. However, since the stages are predetermined, I followed along to a playlist of each stage in the game. I could clear most stages in just a few minutes, but completing 64 stages still turned into a significant time sink. As I progressed, items scattered throughout the stages became essential. Early on, they weren't a big deal, but starting at stage 52, I needed to collect rosaries to unlock Rapunzel's true song. These appeared in every 4th stage onward from 52, culminating in the final one at stage 64. With the last rosary collected, I triggered the song and finished the 64th level. But Super Rapunzel wasn't done yet. With the rosaries collected, I was able to enter a code at the start menu, unlocking an additional 64 stages. Daunting as this was, I jumped in immediately. These bonus stages were far more intense, and even with a guide, they required extra focus and precision. One afternoon, I was just cruising through several levels, only to realize I hadn't saved my progress. That blunder forced me to replay an entire chunk of the game. Yeah, wasn't too jazzed about that one. However, as I neared the final stages, the rosaries made a return, but this time they were hidden. Collecting a genie lamp revealed their locations, adding another layer to the challenge. Despite the extra steps, it wasn't too overwhelming. Finally, after getting the last rosary on stage 64 and witnessing the conclusion of the arcade game, I earned the final trophy for Super Rapunzel. Though the platinum was now closer than ever, there was still a lot to do. For my second playthrough, my initial plan was straightforward. Replay the game on easy, and make choices to have Ren as my love interest, unlocking the additional levels tied to their route. However, by day 2, I decided to shift my focus and tackle all the stages first. Let me explain why. The rarest trophy in the game requires earning a gold prize on every stage. I already did this once by sheer luck, but achieving a gold prize means maintaining a high score, which depends on keeping your chain step counter unbroken and collecting Enigma coins and bars along the way. However, this has to be done on each stage on every difficulty. Catherine offers 3 difficulty options: easy, normal, and hard. There is a safety difficulty, but that doesn't count towards anything. To complicate matters even further, in full body, there are also remix stages. These follow the same structure as classic stages, but introduce combination blocks, requiring even more strategy to navigate. Each of these stages must be completed on all 3 difficulties as well, effectively doubling the workload. For example, Stage 7, the game's second longest stage, has 5 floors. Completing it 6 times, 3 on Classic and 3 on Remix, means climbing a total of 30 increasingly difficult floors. This is technically where those 6 playthroughs come from, and while it wasn't as grueling as Babel, replaying every stage multiple times quickly grew tiresome. This process took me well over a dozen hours to complete, though I spread it out. I started the process in late May and didn't wrap up most of the stages until mid-August, working sporadically as motivation struck. Easy mode was a breeze, as expected, and while there was an option to let the game play itself, I chose to handle things manually. Not only did I earn all the gold prizes on easy, but I also reached a combo of 100 while climbing. Once the classic and remix playthroughs were complete, I moved on to normal. I managed to complete a handful of stages on my own, but the difficulty ramped up around stage 4 or 5, so I relied on a guide by Master LL, whose videos were incredibly helpful. Normal took a few hours to complete and wasn't too taxing overall. Hard mode, however, was the real test. Even with the guide on another screen, I frequently failed to hit the score needed for gold, forcing me to restart on numerous occasions. The tedium was undeniable, but with the end in sight, I powered through, reaching the final stage. Floors 9-5 and 9-6 were my nightmares. 9-5 in particular was the worst floor in the entire game. While earlier boss floors had some predictability, this one was pure RNG hell. I lost count of how many times I restarted due to breaking my chain, stepping on a trap block, being a dumbass and stepping on a black hole block, or being killed by the boss's kick attack. The inconsistency was maddening. I could be on a block he kicked and it would merely stagger me, while other times it would kill me.
Bro, who made this game?
After an hour of retries, I started operating on muscle memory, using some tricks I had learned earlier, like leveraging the undo feature to counteract the boss's attacks. Once I finally cleared 9-5, I miraculously passed 9-6 on my first attempt. The remix stages, however, reversed my luck. I passed 9-5 in about 2 tries, but it took me over a dozen attempts to conquer 9-6. Again, that muscle memory kicked in and I could reach 70 steps consistently, but I would either get sloppy and die on a block I need to avoid, drop off the tower for some reason, or break my chain, forcing another restart.
Oh, son of a bitch.
After another hour of grinding, everything clicked and I earned another gold prize. While these weren't the last stages in the game, I only had a handful left, but I needed to continue the story to unlock them. My main goal was simple: unlock Ren's route, finish the final stages, and pick up a few remaining trophies like listening to all the alcohol trivia and helping the other guys at the bar. I also got the last miscellaneous trophy at some point for peeking into the confessional from outside.
I can't see his face. Come to think of it, I don't even know his name.
Starting back from my save on day 2, I spent each night getting plastered to learn more about cocktails, beer, wine, and sake, chatting with my fellow patrons, and making specific choices at the confessionals to steer the game towards Rin's route. After it's revealed that Rin isn't who we initially think they are, this sends Vincent on a path of self-discovery. During a pivotal cutscene, I was asked what Rin meant to me. By answering 3 questions correctly, I was locked into Rin's route. From here, things spiraled. Vincent, overwhelmed by his emotions, found himself consumed by thoughts of Rin. By day 8, Rin even appeared in one of Vincent's nightmares to save him. At the same time, K. Catherine ended their relationship and C. Catherine vanished entirely. Transitioning to the bar, I expected to unlock a few trophies for helping the guys. To my confusion, none showed up despite my efforts to choose all the correct dialogue when I talked to them. I was a little confused, but I think since I didn't talk to them every chance I had, it messed things up somewhere, so now I have to do this again on my 3rd playthrough. A small setback, but I progressed to day 9 where Vincent's reunited with Rin in what seemed like a happy ending. However, the story had a wild twist in store. Rin wasn't a man or a woman. They weren't even human. Rin turned out to be an angel, and their brother descended from the heavens, revealing that if Vincent wanted to become Rin's true love and prevent humanity's destruction, he'd need to complete a new set of celestial stages. This revelation unlocked an additional day in the story. Before tackling it, I wrapped up the final bits of alcohol trivia where I became a cocktail master,
Empty? Hey, can I get a drink?
sake connoisseur,
Empty?
wine sommelier,
Empty?
and beer cicerone.
Empty?
After enjoying one last drink with the boys, it was time to head home and face the final stage. These new puzzles pulled out all the stops, with the latter stages introducing hazards like whirlwinds and laser blocks. They were challenging, but also a refreshing change of pace, especially with the stellar soundtrack keeping the momentum alive. The final stage itself was a serious test. Unlike stage 9, it wasn't overly reliant on RNG, but Rin's brother had some nasty tricks up his sleeve, including a powerful laser attack and spawning clones. After roughly 30 minutes of answering questions in the confessional and climbing some intriguing towers, I reached the top, and Vincent reunited with Rin at the Stray Sheep. That's when things got really weird. It turned out Rin and their brothers weren't angels, they were aliens. Yep, aliens. Catherine has been a weird game, but this was definitely the weirdest thing I experienced up to this point. But the choices I made led to Rin's true ending, where Vincent and Rin lived happily among colorful aliens as their music was performed across the galaxy.
It's like the 2 of us are unstoppable.
I love you, Rin.
Vincent.
While I was on a roll, I decided to see Rin's other endings. In another, Rin embarked on a new journey, and we reconciled with them after a period of reflection. With Rin's route complete and the final stage of the game available, I took care of them on each of the game's difficulty and mode. Easy, of course, was a breeze, and I made decent progress on normal before turning back to Master LL for help. After about an hour, I earned all the gold prizes on normal, but I just so happened to not be recording at the time. Still, the Gold Rush trophy was mine. Hard mode, unsurprisingly, was a whole new beast. The first 2 floors took some effort, but the last 2 were brutal. Having only 1 life really raised the stakes. By this point, I had the routes memorized, but staying mindful of the hazards took every ounce of focus. The final stage on hard took me an hour to conquer. Thankfully, the remake stages were more practicable. My heart raced as I approached the final steps, dodging comets with precision. But once I reached the top and pushed those doors open, I earned the rarest trophy in the game for achieving every gold prize.
Would you like to retry this area?
With one last playthrough ahead, it was time to pursue C. Catherine's love and save all my boys along the way. This time, I made a point to talk to everyone at every opportunity, and come day 8, they were all at the bar this time, unlocking trophies for helping them overcome their personal struggles. Now it was time to tackle the remaining endings, which required my karma meter to be on the side of freedom. First, I pursued a new ending with K. Catherine. Starting on day 5, I answered text messages from C. Catherine related to Rian's piano playing, along with the usual confessional questions. In this ending, K. Catherine finds a new purpose in life as a supermodel, embracing her independence thanks to Vincent, and living life on her own terms.
I'll be back as a better man!
Next, I unlocked the second single ending. While it shares the same cutscene as the other one, which made me a little nervous, the key difference was keeping my karma meter near the middle. In this version, Vincent finally made a long-teased trip to his space station. There was one more ending with K. Catherine where she ends up dumping Vincent. However, he seemed unbothered, finally able to get some much-needed rest. Then came the juicy endings with C. Catherine. The first one had Vincent reconcile with her. She was hesitant, but when her father appeared, things took a bizarre turn.
I'm sure we'll manage somehow.
What the fuck?
What the fuck?
I heard you, human. What in all damnation are you prattling on about, eh?
A few days later, the two appeared to be adjusting to this new life, until Vincent found the boss hanging out in his bed. Oh, and their apartment was now in the underworld. At least they were happy. For the final and possibly my favorite ending, Vincent and C. Catherine became powerful rulers of the underworld, adored by countless followers. This last ending netted me a trophy, along with another for viewing all endings, giving me the long-awaited platinum trophy. What a fucking game. I absolutely loved my time with Catherine Full Body. Across the 80 plus hours I spent, I found true love, got dumped more times than I'd like to admit, shared countless drinks with friends, and conquered some of the most excruciating puzzles I've ever faced. On the surface, Catherine might seem like an odd game to explain, but once you dive in, it's easy to learn, hard to master puzzles, and mature, compelling story reveal a game unlike anything else in the medium. The difficulty lives up to its reputation. While most trophies are attainable, even if a bit tedious, Babel and earning gold prizes on every stage are monumental challenges that could easily break a trophy hunter's resolve. It certainly almost broke mine. But after pushing through the struggles and finding the mental grit to persevere, I earned what is probably my proudest platinum to date. The trophy list for this game is also one of the best I've done. It encourages you to explore everything the game has to offer, and Catherine Full Body does that in spades. Would I have played all 128 stages of Rapunzel, powered through the 4 excruciating stages of Babel, or sought out every ending if not for the platinum? Probably not, but I'm so glad I did. Each challenge enhanced what was already an amazing game. Not only is Catherine one of the best platinums I've achieved, it's become one of my favorite games ever. Like other great titles before it, this game completely took over my life for months. It was all I could think about as I listened to the soundtrack, browsed for merch, and poured hours into it night after night. While I wish I had been more consistent in the beginning, those long breaks ended up being what I needed to fully enjoy the experience and earn the platinum. Atlas is a studio I'd heard of before, and I've dabbled in a few of their games, but Catherine Full Body was the turning point. While I might not dive into their other games or make a video about them anytime soon, given their extensive completion times, I'm grateful to have experienced this masterpiece in its entirety. This truly was a wonderful and memorable journey.